Hello, guys and dolls. Welcome back to my podcast, Conversations with Zalia. I'm your host, Zalia Lorraine. Today is Friday, October 11th, 2024. This podcast episode is available to listen to on Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other available platforms. Now, in today's episode, since this is the month of October, which is also my birthday month, but it's also spooky month, I'm going to review a 2000s horror movie that's pretty much remembered for being a Paris Hilton horror flick, and it's called House of Wax, which is a remake of a remake of a remake. Namely, House of Wax is a remake of a 1953 horror movie, which itself was a remake of another horror movie that was made 20 years earlier called Mystery of the Wax Museum. And the whole premise of House of Wax is a bunch of young adults, they travel while on their way to a tailgating party or some homecoming party. They wind up finding themselves in a ghost town that's populated by wax statues and a pair of brothers who's out to kill them, to turn them into their creations. Now, I first watched this movie at my dad's house in Georgia in 2012, and in spite of the whole Paris Hilton casting, it's pretty much your typical mid 2000, your typical mid horror movie. It's not bad, but it's not good either. And so let's jump right into this review. But before we get into this review, considering the fact I am pretty much recapping all the events that happened in the movie and reveal certain plot points and character deaths, there will be a spoiler alert for this video. So if you haven't watched the movie or don't listen to this episode, if you watched the movies, listen to this episode. So let's jump right into it. The movie starts with a woman in the kitchen smoking a cigarette and making a wax facial mask while her son is eating breakfast. When all of a sudden the scene turns to chaos when her husband brings in their son who's been acting up badly, and they pretty much decide to punish him by crudely tying him up to a chair. Which, with them yelling at him and with the mom saying, "Why could you be more like your brother?" And the scene ends with the mom slapping the little boy when he scratches her hand. And now it jumps to the main characters. Like, our main characters are Eliza Cuthbert, aka Kim Bauer from 24 as Carly Jones, Chad McMurray as Nick Jones, as her troubled brother Nick. The dude from Supernatural, I forgot what character he played. Sam from Supernatural as Wade, Carly's boyfriend. Johnny Abrams as one you may recognize from the Scary Movie as Dalton. Nick's Tagalong and Arnez from 101 as Blake. And the fact that pretty much the cast members of this movie dates this movie to the mid 2000s, because in fact, did Sam from Supernatural, when this movie came out or was filmed, I'm not sure. Supernatural wasn't out yet. Then 101 was recently canceled. And also there's a lot. And the chick that plays Carly was Kim Bauer on 24. And last but not least, there's Paris Hilton as Paige, the girlfriend of Blake. And pretty much her purpose of the movie is pretty much her acting is garbage. But what do you expect with stunt casting? But they're pretty much going to some event, going to some homecoming and or tailgate event, and they're showing camping in the woods. And suddenly they were having some mysterious things started happening. Then the next day, while still camping in the woods, while they're preparing to leave, since Blake rarely wants to go to this event, Carly trips and falls into a pile of decaying deer. I forgot what the name. Deer corpses. Oh my god, which I can't imagine that happening to me. In which she winds up falling into the decaying deer corpses. And this truck driver dude, Lester, winds up coming over to pretty much help Carly and Wade get cleaned up, and he winds up taking him to, and the truck driver dude Lester takes him to the town of Ambrose, which is pretty much a ghost town. But when Wade winds up saying some weird remark, he winds up dropping him off at a church. Or dropping him off in the middle of the town, in which they wind up attending a church service where we meet Bo, who's attending his mom's funeral. He's pretty much reactive for interrupting him, but he winds up helping them. And pretty much gives some exposition on. And we also get some exposition on the Sinclairs. Dr. Sinclair and his wife Trudy had children with his wife Trudy was a talented artist, but she had some mental problems, which led to, and he tried to pretty much exercise her, but he wound up killing her and he wound up deleting himself. And I should note that Trudy and the doctor, they're important later on if you see newspaper clippings of them with Trudy and the doctor of them expecting. Meanwhile, Blake tries to go to the Blake, Paige, and Dalton try to go to that homecoming event, but they get stuck in traffic, which leads to them returning back to the campsite. And meanwhile, back in Ambrose, Carly and Wade, they visit the titular House of Wax, of which literally everyone in the home is made of wax figures. Then we cut to Vincent, who's wearing this weird face mask, wax face mask. Which we'll know later on why he's wearing that face mask, pretty much. I'm not trying to laugh. God. Oh my God. Oh God, I'm so sorry for laughing. Oh my. But we're showing Vincent sculpting a body. A wax body. I'm sorry for laughing. Like Carly, she winds up. And I'll jump into later on with but pretty much let's get into the action, shall we? But Wade is the first to pretty much get murked when Wade is playing around with what was touching one of the wax figures when he gets attacked by Vincent, who wound up cutting his Achilles heels, which was reminiscent as that one scene in Hostel. He pretty much gets turned into he pretty much gets doused in wax while still alive. Then Dalton and Nick, they wind up going to the town together to find Carly and Wade. And Dalton in the museum winds up finding Wade, who's still conscious. Which, oh my god, the fact that he's a living wax sculpture, that's a fate worse than death. And when he winds up touching Wade, he winds up peeling off. Due to him being covered in pretty much encased in wax, his skin winds up peeling off, which gets caught, and he gets caught by Vincent, who throws a knife at him, which winds up hitting Wade, potentially killing him and causing the skin of the skin on the lower half of his face to fall off. And Dalton winds up falling down the stairs, which leads to him getting decapitated with 2 dives by Vincent, and him pulling his body out. Meanwhile, Carly realizes that Bo is very person trying to escape, but Bo wants to kidnapping her, then kidnaps her, locks her in the gas station? In a basement under the gas station, and super glues her lips. Then Nick winds up talking to Bo and asks about his whereabouts, and Carly tries to stick her finger under the vents, which led to Bo sniping it off. Oh god. But eventually, Nick winds up finding out Carly's where Carly is, and winds up being Bo. They wind up trying to escape the town or hiding from Bo, and they pretty much try to find people, anybody that's around, but they're all wax sculptures. And they wind up hiding in a movie theater that's playing Wherever Happened to Baby Jane, which, considering the fact that movie deals with toxic sibling relationships, is pretty much some genius fridge logic, considering fact. The heavy foreshadowing later on. But they wind up getting called to be there, which lead them escaping. Meanwhile, Paige and Blake, they're trying to are trying to make soup. And I forgot to mention earlier that right before that earlier on, Paige hints that she may be pregnant, which would not be surprised because of that. Paige and Blake spend the entire movie cadoodling, and they're about to make soup when the music cuts off, and Blake winds up goes outside to pretty much turn on the music. He winds up hearing a voice message from Carly about the town. Then Blake doesn't come back from 10, which and Paige winds up getting ambushed by Vincent. She runs out of 10 where she finds Blake dead, being killed off screen by Vincent. He winds up pushes the knife further by stomping where the knife was at. It pretty much Vincent pursues Paige in a cat and mouse chase, even stabbing her in the foot until finally killing her by throwing a pipe that pretty much skewers her in the eye and takes a photo of it with Dalton's camera. Meanwhile, Carly and Nick, they're still trying to figure out the town, and they wind up going to the House of Wax. Going back into the House of Wax, where they find Dalton's body. Namely, he's been super doused with wax, and when they try, and Nick winds up detaching his head when trying to pull out his body, which leaves him crying. And Carly winds up coming across some newspaper clippings, and the newspaper clippings pretty much reveal the backstory of Vince and Beau. Vincent and Beau were the children of Trudy and Dr. Sinclair, and Vincent and Beau were conjoined twins, with Vincent's face being attached to the back of Beau's head, and the surgery to separate them left Vincent disfigured, hence why he wore the wax face mask. Then Vincent is in the kitchen, and Beau pretty much comes in the kitchen chastising him, berating him. Which leads to the final. But eventually, Carly and Nick, they want to get in caught, and they want up fighting against. And I don't know why. I meant to state this earlier, and I'm sorry for getting ahead, but Vincent, as far as there's a toxic sibling dynamic, like Vincent was the artist who was pretty much the favorite amongst the parents, while Beau was the troubled brother that pretty much the parents treat like crap. But Carly and Nick, they want to get caught and facing off against the Sinclair twins. And during the showdown, Vincent's face mask winds up falling, revealing his disfigured face. And they wind up killing, and just as they're fighting, the house is literally melting. The house of wax which is literally made of wax, is literally melting, and they wind up killing Beau and Vincent with their bodies being posed. Their bodies supposedly posed in the way they were born, and they managed to escape the house. Then the next morning, they're being taken care of police. With Dalton's camera being taken away from Nick for evidence, and the doctor and pretty much the sheriff discussing the town of Ambrose, and Nick and Carly are pretty much sent home. Meanwhile, while Carly and Nick are in the car, Nick reveals that he stole Dalton's camera, which shocks Carly, with Nick telling them that he couldn't leave without the camera, considering the fact it has a lot of memories. And considering the fact that Vincent was using that camera to film Paige's body, and Dalton's use of the camera for inappropriate thing, to film Carly sleeping, more than likely they're going to be in for a shock. Meanwhile, back in Ambrose, the sheriff gets a tip through gets contact through his walkie-talkie with the man telling with the police officer in the walkie-talkie telling him that Trudy and the doctor, they didn't have two boys, they had three. And the third brother was none other than Lester, the man that dropped him off at town, who was shown giving a creepy wave at them near the end of the movie. And also meaning that Lester was involved all along. Namely, they're pretty much... Bo and Vincent will kill people while Lester would lure them, if you will. And that's the end. And here are my final thoughts regarding this movie. Aside from the underdeveloped characters and Paris Hilton and promoting the movie by spoiling your character dying, House of Wax is your typical corny mid-2000s average horror movie with the rock soundtrack and the crazy kills and attacks throughout the movie. Overall, it's mid. Oh, like I stated earlier, it's mid. It's not that good of a movie, but at the same time, it's not that bad of a movie. And when I think of this, we always have memories watching this movie. Even with Paris wearing t-shirts, bragging about her character being killed off, it's kind of hinted that her character gets killed off. The DVD cover itself pretty much spoils Paris Hilton's death since Paris Hilton is portrayed covered in wax. And it's a very, not to mention it's a very spooky movie. Imagine going to a ghost town where literally everyone is made of wax. And then the whole backstory of the Sinclair family is crazy. Not to mention the whole twist reveal of Lester being involved all along. Even though Lester's never portrayed in the family photos. But then again, it wasn't really surprising because I read Lester. I'm sorry if you can't hear me speak, but the whole plot twist of Lester being a Sinclair was surprising, but not that surprising at the same time, which is one of the issues with this movie. And I should also mention is that there's an alternative opening scene for the movie which is pretty much where one of this girl, she is shown pretty much trying to get her car stuck on the side of the road, trying to get her car fixed when Vincent grabs her by the neck and crashes her, pretty much throws her to her car, which kills her. If I was asking how, and the next time we see her, she's pretty much one of the wax sculptures. If you were to look at it, it's not surprising that they went with the scene they went with, because in fact, she has no significance to the story. But in conclusion, that was my review of House of Wax. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, comment, and follow this podcast. In next week's episode, I'm doing something new for this podcast called Anatomy of an Arc, West Side Story 2022. And pretty much I'm going to discuss whether or not Bernardo was right about Tony's intentions with Maria, and also pretty much do a podcast episode tackling childhood show hot takes. So stay tuned for that. Until then, goodbye.